Inravio.com.
Hello again, everybody. This is Joe Larson, and you're watching the 5 Off, 5 On Racing Show. Welcome. Welcome. Nice week of racing. The Cup cars were at Michigan. The Xfinity cars were at the Mid-Ohio Sports Car Club. And the Camping World Truck Series were at Michigan as well. The NASCAR Wheel and Modified Tour was at the Thompson Motorsports Park, and we'll be talking about some of the stuff that went on there and some of the stories that came out of that race. So we'll have a lot to talk about tonight. In fact, we might as well just go right into the modifieds. And like I said, the Modified Tour was at the Thompson Motorsports Park for a Wednesday night show, which was kind of different, but since the new ownership, the children, I guess grandchildren of Don Honig are running the place now, and although they run a limited schedule on their weekly series, they've kind of changed the way they do the tour. They still have the Icebreaker, and they still have the World Series that the modifieds participate in, but they went from 5 shows to 3. I remember we went there 5 times, and it was a Thursday night, not a Wednesday night. But anyway, the winner there was Ryan Preece, who came up north, so to speak, to take that victory down with Doug Colby second. Ted Christopher was third. Timmy Solomino came in fourth. Bobby Santos fifth. And Andrew Krause was sixth. Rowan Pennick seventh from the pole. Eric Goodale eighth. John McKennedy ninth, and Woody Pitcat finding a ride the last minute and ran in the top 10, finishing 10th. The next event will be the Bristol Motor Speedway this Wednesday night for the modifieds prior to the Camping World Truck Series event, which is always an interesting day for the modifieds, because if the modified race is running close to truck live racing and start of that race, the modified race is red flagged. The cars then pull into the garage area. The trucks go out, do their thing, and then the modifieds come out and finish. And I can remember some late nights at Bristol when the modifieds had to stop their race for the trucks. In fact, that became a long day for me, because I would be there before the sun rose. And not only would I do the modified race, but I'd also work pit road for the Camping World Truck Series race as well. And then on those couple of occasions, switch pit road uniforms and put the modified one and go modified racing. So one of my favorite places to watch and when I was working with NASCAR work as well. But the points are starting to stretch out here a little bit in the NASCAR Wheel and Modified Tour. Timmy Solomino is still the point leader with a 10-point lead over Rowan Pennick. Ryan Preece is 19 points back in third, and he has one less race than most of the other top 15, 16 drivers. Doug Colby is 430 back. Eric Goodale is also 30 back in fifth. Justin Boncio is 32 back in sixth. Matt Zackham is 50 back in seventh. Then we have Dave Sapienza, who's 62 points back, followed by Woody Petcat, 68 points back, and Rob Summers in 10th in points, 76 points back. There was some controversy in the Ryan Preece win at the Thompson Motorsports Park last Wednesday night, What happened there, and of course I was not there, I did not see a replay or a rebroadcast of the race, but from what I could read in all the social media and talking to people who were there, late in the race, Ryan Preece needed tires or needed something, and he spun himself out, allegedly. The only person who knows what really happened is Ryan Preece. Spins himself out, gets the caution, pulls down pit road, makes his changes, tires, adjustments, whatever, and goes back out. And yes, he did work his way through the field and wins the race. Now, some people say he did that on purpose. Now, I know Ryan Preece since he first came into the Tour. I did not have the privilege of knowing him when he was an SK driver, bouncing between Thompson, Stafford, and the London Waterford Speedful back in the day. But a good guy. I had respect for Ryan Preece. I like Ryan Preece. I had some conversations with him over the years regarding racing. He was interviewed for our show a couple of times and does a nice job. But here's my dilemma with this. If it appeared that Ryan Preece spun out on his own to bring out a caution, there's a penalty for that, and the penalty is addressed in the rule book. It will be, the driver will be assessed a 1-lap penalty and not eligible for the free pass. Now, the two people in the tower, you have your race director and you have your series director, who make these decisions, chose not to make that decision for whatever reason. I don't know. And a lot of people are up in arms over that. And I've seen the call made on past races and events, but it was not made in this one. And also that last lap caution where a lot of people felt that Doug Coby hit the wall and the caution flag came out for him, yet he finished fourth. That one I could explain because from anybody who was listening to the tower that I communicated with, the caution clearly, they stated, put it out, debris. They didn't put it out, the two's in the wall, crash with the two, debris. Now, the field is frozen. Doug Coby did limp over the line, but the field is frozen. And the field is frozen at the point that the last loop, now I don't know how many loops are in the Thompson Motorsports Park. I believe there's two. So it becomes the last timing loop that the full field passed and they went yellow. It's not like the Cup Series on the bigger tracks where there's a loop every 700 feet. The debris was for caution. Doug Coby blended back in, limped over the line fourth. That's cut and dry. The tower made the right call. Timing and scoring made the right call. But the Ryan Preece thing, again, I did not see it. But there's not one person that was there that day has said to me that somebody got into him. Nobody said to me a right rear went down and he went around. Guys who were in the know with the modified series and other racing series along the way say this is unlike Ryan to do that. Again, I wasn't there. If you see a rebroadcast of the race, make your own decision. Make your own call. I'm not being judgmental here. If that's what happened, he spun himself out, the tower blew it. If he really did go around and sat there, then all's good, all's fair. And that's how you have to look at it. You know, and working the tower, you got to understand too, is you're one or two sets of eyes working in conjunction with each other. And I called a lot of races from the tower, and not only do you not see everything, but there's a section when you're in the tower at Thompson Motorsports Park that there's a window frame in the corner, and this much of the track from there you can't see. And you got to make a judgment call based on what you feel happened. You can't go by what everybody tells you, because everybody has their own agenda. And especially if it's their car, you really can't see. And it's only for a split second. So maybe that split second, they weren't sure what really happened. So in that case, the benefit goes to the driver when it's a single car situation like spinning into the grass. I was never a fan of guys spinning and not just go. If they were in a safe spot and they spun and sat there, I would wait as long as I could to get that yellow out. Because I used to tell them, you might as well go. You're going to lose the lap anyway. And if you're going to sit there, I call that Saturday night racing, short track racing at your home track, because the guy would spin, he'd sit there, and the caution comes out and they drive away. I was at our local racetrack just this past weekend, and that happened in one of the divisions. A car spun up in turn 2, sat there, caution came out. As soon as the yellow light went on, he fires up and goes. That to me that's I hate to say this, but that's bush league. You don't do that. And this driver was penalized for bringing out the caution. It's clearly stated in the rule book. You bring out the caution, intentionally bring out a caution, you're penalized. And that's just the way it goes. And for all these, I call them next day race directors who are going to sit there and say what shoulda, coulda, and happened, and understand something as a crew member, even a fan. Your eyes are on one car alone, and that's the one you're associated with. So you're going to see every pass, every push, every shove, every bump, every grind of your car, not the 30, 28, 32, whatever others. And you're focused on your car, and everybody hit you on purpose, and everybody pushed you on purpose. Sometimes you got to look 3 cars back and watch a guy who goes into the corner as hard as he can and uses the guy's bumper in front of him for brakes, and he bangs that guy and head of him who bangs you. You look in your mirror, you see it's, car 76, and guy tried to take me out. You got to look at the big picture, and sometimes looking at the big picture from the tower is virtually impossible. You make the calls based on the rules, you follow the rules, and if in your judgment, in this case, Ryan Preece spun, it's a good deal. The call's good. You can't go back and look at a videotape and make a decision on a videotape. Yeah, a lot of people say, well, we should go to a videotape, we should look at it. Do they do that in the top 3 series? Absolutely. But in the touring series, very, very rare. The only place I ever went back to a videotape was at the Stafford Motor Speedway when the race director, Frankie Sambacher, was up there, and he looked at me. He says, "Joey, I got it on tape. Do you want to see it?" And I looked, and we made the right call based on the decision we made and based on what we looked at the tape. But you can't do that for every call. You can't. You're too busy trying to line up cars, get the lineup right, hand out and assess any penalties, determine who's the free pass. Hold on, everybody, I got to look at the video. No, you don't do that. I hate it in baseball. I hate it in football. Officials, referees, umpires, they're human beings, and that's what all these sports were designed around, to be officiated by human beings. And human beings, yeah, they're going to make mistakes. And I've always said that, be consistent. If you make a consistent call every time based on your judgment, you can't be wishy-washy. You can't say, all right, oh yeah, that's car 2. I can't make that call. Oh, that's car number 24. I can't make that call. If you make the calls the same every time, A, everybody knows what to expect, and B, right, wrong, or indifferent, you're consistent. And that's all that really matters, and is consistency as an official. So with that being said, we're going to take a break, and when we come back, we're going to talk about some of the stuff that went on in Michigan when we come back.
Hey, what's up? Oh, I was going to say what's up for some reason. Hey, we're Set It Up, and you're watching the Inravio TV network.
Village Music Shop of Mastic. 1-800-HEY-DUDE, your full-service store with personalized attention, school band instrument rentals and sales, music instruction on all instruments for all styles and age groups, for guitars, drums, amplifiers, PA systems, and accessories. It's Village Music Shop, 1495 Montauk Highway in Mastic. Call 1-800-HEY-DUDE or go to villagemusicshop.com.
Hi there, this is Buddy from Less Than Jake, and you are listening to Inravio TV. You're probably watching it too.
Welcome back, everybody. Hey, I just wanted to throw a little reminder out to everybody that to go on to our website, Inravio.com, and look at our contest page. We have contests from time to time, and right now we have some contests to sign up for the Paramount in Huntington, New York. Free tickets to some really good shows. In fact, if you've never been to the Paramount Theater up in Huntington, you would think you are in Midtown Manhattan. It's a great place. It's all lit up nice, and they put on some nice shows with some nice performers. Nice groups, some tribute bands, some real bands. I've had the pleasure of attending some of the shows there. I was a paying guy just like you. Not as fortunate enough as you folks to go be able to win tickets, but go on to Inravio.com and look at what contests we have, and it's real simple to sign up. Your name, your email, your address and phone number. And please don't forget your phone number, because that's how you're notified. And if you get picked, there'll be tickets waiting for you at the door, and you get to see a really cool show. And if you get there early enough, you can actually stand and lean right on the stage, and the performers, you can reach out and touch them. So cool stuff at the Paramount, courtesy of the Inravio.com, the 505 on Racing Show, and all the other shows here on the Inravio TV network. Anyway, I had forgot to mention before we went to break, just wanted to say that the K&N Pro Series East does not race again until Labor Day weekend, and they will be at the Langley Speedway in Virginia. And also, according to RaceDayConnecticut.com, Visconti Motorsports has announced that its driver, C.J. Lehman of Long Island, will compete in the NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour full-time in 2018. 26-year-old Lehman has been a dedicated racer on Long Island, here at the Riverhead Raceway on Long Island. He is currently in the Crate Modified division, and he's been involved with the Crate Modified since 2016. He's also running a couple of tour events, crashing out of one and finishing mid-pack in the other. And Lehman, who has been, although he's only 26 years old, has been involved with racing for 16 years, starting in the go-karts when he was 10 years old, and moving to full-size cars at the Evergreen Raceway Park in Pennsylvania when he turned 14. I've had the opportunity to talk with CJ about his future plans, and with his car owner, John Visconti III, son of late model champion here on Long Island, Cookie Visconti. And I'll tell you what, this is a first-class act here. They do everything right. Their team is uniformed with their sponsors' logos and images on them. They don't show up at the track in dirty, greasy jeans and ripped shirts. They have a professional appearance. And because of the way they ran the tour race on the tough quarter mile here on Long Island, NASCAR approved them to run the Stafford and the Thompson races, and it's been decided that they will be full-time in 2018 on the NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour. C.J. Lehman and his team owner, John Visconti III, have been guests of our show a couple of times, and a good part and a big part of our anniversary show, our 300th show back in April. So good luck to the Visconti Motorsports and C.J. Lehman, and the rest of 2017 and for their jump into the full-time ranks of the NASCAR Wheel and Modified Tour. It's always good to see a Long Islander moving up the ranks, and because there weren't a lot years ago. There weren't a lot that ran the Tour. But if you look at the top 10 in points right now, Timmy Salamino is first in points. Ryan Preece, although he's not from Long Island, his car owner is. Eric Goodale, a Long Islander. Justin Bonsignor, who's sixth in points, a Long Islander. Dave Sapienza, eighth in points, a Long Islander. So half the top 10 is guys from Long Island, when a few years back, and not that many few years back, you were lucky to have 2 drivers in the entire Tour, and that was back when there were 50 teams. Are you going to say that the talent has dwindled a little bit? No, not at all. Because if you look at the qualifying speeds, other than a couple of the teams, you're talking 2 to 3 tenths that separate the front of the pack from the back of the pack. It's a competitive field. It's a competitive group of drivers, and to make that jump is big. So again, good luck to C.J. Lehman and the Visconti Motorsports team. Oh, yes. Stuff going on. JR Motorsports, we'll talk about Dale Earnhardt Jr. for a second. There seems to be a lot of dissension amongst the ranks with Junior, as he's called, with some of the drivers saying that Junior has hurt the sport. Although he's been voted most popular driver in the top level of racing year after year, it seems, some drivers are saying he hasn't lived up to that potential. Now, let's understand that most popular driver thing comes from the fans. And are the fans voting for him because he's accessible in the garage area or when he does appearances? Or are they voting for him because he's Dale Sr.'s son? Or are they voting for him because he's a good-looking guy with blue eyes and red hair? I don't know. But if the fans are saying he's the most popular guy, by a vote, and you can vote 17 times a day if you want, I believe. But if they're voting, obviously people who are involved with the sport, if they're voting for the most popular driver, are there people who go out and tell all their friends and neighbors and relatives and friends at work, if they have jobs, or everybody they know, vote for me? At every level. There's no question about it. That's why it's the most popular driver. And if you're that ambitious that you could go out and tell all your friends to vote for me, so be it. I don't believe Dale Earnhardt Jr. has hurt the sport. His performance of late has not been the same. In fact, his performance has not been the same since before he was diagnosed with this concussion thing. Now, if you've ever had a concussion, you get a little, messed up a little bit. If you've had multiple concussions, and I know some people who have, and it's ruined their careers and ruined their life, and I always go to the hockey, the NFL, New York Islanders, Pat LaFontaine. Got so many concussions that he just couldn't do it anymore. Had to leave the sport. Wayne Corbett, fullback, New York Jets. So many concussions. He can't play anymore. Some of these guys with the concussions in any sport, when you've got multiple concussions, and for those who don't know what a concussion is, it's a bruise to your brain. It changes things. It might change your attitude, might change your emotions. It might change your ability to think quickly. It might slow down processes. Dale Earnhardt Jr. was, and still will be, in my opinion, an ambassador to the sport of racing, regardless of what some of his fellow competitors are talking. And I often think when you have a situation like that is that it's a jealousy thing. All these guys in the top series, they're all making good money, and they all have a good living and nice homes and property and investments and side businesses. And it was Dale Jr. given that silver spoon, not on your life. He earned everything that he did, and he worked hard for what he got. And his dad was old school. Dale Sr. was old school. You're a kid, you want to do this, you got to earn it. You're going to go to military school, and you're going to learn some discipline, and you're going to do this, and you're going to do that. And you're going to work your way up just like everybody else, like it's supposed to be. You're going to run the short tracks, you're going to run some late models, and then you're going to run what's now called the Xfinity Series. And when you're ready, we'll put you in the Cup Series. And you're going to be in the shop, and you're going to work, and you're going to work, and you're going to work at it. So he wasn't handed anything. And not to put down some of these kids that are coming in now. Some of those kids were handed stuff. Not to put them down, you know. They were in the right place at the right time. They were born into the right family at the right time. But when you hear about stuff like that, and it just kind of bothers me when I hear that. But anyway. And speaking of Dale Earnhardt Jr., JR Motorsports has 6 million reasons 6 million reasons why this week's Camping World Truck Series winner Darrell Bubba Wallace has not been signed to run their Xfinity car in 2018. Wallace with Roush Fenway Racing lost his ride due to sponsors or lack of sponsors. He filled in at Richard Petty Motorsports, the injured Eric Almirola, and he fared okay hopping into a car that was unknown. Hopping into a Sprint Cup Series car. So, oh man, I said Sprint Cup. Monster Energy Drink NASCAR Cup. I think I said Sprint before too. It's like the old timers still call it the Winston Cup. But anyway, but JR Motorsports' decision not to sign Bubba because it costs $6 million to field an Xfinity car for one season. That's everything. That's space in the shop, because that's not free. Even though you own the building, you still allocate the cost. A crew, travel, cars, motors, spare parts, whatever else is needed to run a car, a hauler driver, the trailer, the double stacker. And you don't just show up to be competitive with one car, you usually have two. That's why at these levels, the trucks, the Xfinity, and the Monster Energy Cup, the fields are down because the cost to run these cars is astronomical. $6 million to run an Xfinity Series car. And that's a budget that you're looking at, and that's without blowing motors, wrecking, accidents with the hauler, things of that nature, NASCAR rule changes. You know, it all costs money, and people don't realize that. You know, I look at people who watch these sports, and you know, why don't they do this and why don't they do that and this and that? It's NASCAR's fault. No, it's not. Stop blaming NASCAR. You know, as competitive racers, and I've been involved with teams. You know, it's if the guy who's winning every day sprinkles sawdust on his tires, before you know it, everybody else is going to put sawdust on their tires because he's winning. And I've seen it happen. I've watched top running guys do something that's so absurd to their cars, or the appearance that they're doing something, that everybody else has to go do it because they're gonna win. I can remember back in the mid-'70s, this person was running street stocks on Long Island. They were winning all the time. They were winning all the time, races, championships, the whole deal. They drove a red Chevelle, a '67 red Chevelle with a 350 motor with a little bit of work to it. And what happened the next season? 6 or 7 teams showed up at the Islip Speedway here on Long Island with Chevelles. It's not that easy. If it was that easy, everybody would be doing it, and everybody go out and win. But you know, the cost to race a car is incredible, and even at the local level, in an entry-level division, you know, and there aren't too many entry-level divisions anymore because what happens is some of the old-timers who think they'll win, they go into the new division, you know, because they think they're going to win. So when you look at the entry-level divisions at all these short tracks, sometimes you see a lot of other, you know, older guys who really shouldn't be in that division. But I just had a conversation this past weekend with a guy who's been involved with the sport for 40 years. And so I didn't tell him I was going to talk about this, so I'm not going to say who it was. But the guy's been involved for 40 years on a lot of aspects of racing. And we talked about that. And we talked about the old days. There was this one division here on Long Island called the novice division. You purely had to be a novice to get in that class. The cars were close to street stocks, but it was for novice drivers only. And the rule was, win 2 races, up to the street stocks you went. It's just that simple. And I'll tell you, I can remember a driver, Paul Galvin, who was running the novice division, who really shouldn't have been at the time, but he was in the novice division. And he'd be going into turn 3 with the lead, and he would push up to the marbles, let 1 or 2 cars pass, and he'd duck right back down and finish third. Or go back down and finish second. And somebody should have taken a look at that back then, but the street stocks had a ton of cars, the novice division did not, so they kind of overlooked it. The rules said, win 2, you're up. And I've always been a staunch supporter of that the big fish in the little pond needs to move up. Because nobody wants to run for second. Everybody that shows up at the racetrack thinks they have a chance to win. So that's just the way it is. So Bubba Wallace, I would think, deserves a ride, if not in the Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series, at least in the Xfinity Series full time. He's proven that he could win in at least in Xfinity and Camping World Trucks. He hopped into a strange team with a strange spotter and a strange crew chief, and he was able to run mid-pack. Think of what that kid could do if he's with his spotter, his crew chief, or a crew chief he's familiar with, in a car that he has a Google number of laps practicing in it, where the feedback is. Let me tell you something, and don't get me wrong, I'm not saying I'm a cup driver, but if I was in anybody's position and had to fill in at Richard Petty Motorsports, I'm not going to go to Richard Petty and say, I think we need a 200-pound spring in the right rear. I'd be out before I even got in. I wouldn't be able to go up to Richard Petty and say that, or his nephew, or his brother, or his cousin, because it's a family operation. I wouldn't be able to do that. So think about the guy who's just filling in. Just bring your suit and helmet, dude. In fact, don't even bring your suit. We're going to give you one with our sponsors on it. What you have is your helmet and your gloves and your shoes and your underwear. Everything, nothing's yours. But Bubba Wallace should be racing somewhere else, and I had the opportunity. With him and I talked about that down in Charlotte in December, and he's got the talent, he's got the ability, he's got people behind him, but just not enough dollars. So kind of is tough when you look about, it's kind of tough that when you come to that situation. There's a lot of good drivers sitting the bench right now because there's no sponsorship. And when it costs you $6 million to run in a competitive Xfinity Series car, and it costs you triple that, if not more, for a Monster Energy NASCAR Cup car. So it's just something to think about. So anyway, we're going to take a break. When we come back, then we're going to talk about Michigan when we come back.
Hi, I'm Remington.
I'm Emerson.
And I'm Sebastian.
We're Palais Royale, and you're watching Inravio TV.
There we go.
The world of advertising has changed. Radio, TV, and newspaper revenues have declined drastically. Why? Because businesses have realized that advertising return on investment isn't what it used to be. So what can we do about it? Well, that's easy. Advertise online. Own a local restaurant, real estate agency, or even a national retail chain? Whatever your business, Inravio can get your message out there. And we can do it at a fraction of the cost. Call today and see the difference for yourself. This isn't TV. This isn't radio. This is Inravio.com.
Hey, this is Chris Les Jake, and if Inravio.com spots you at an event wearing this bracelet, they will give you $100.
Village Music Shop of Mastic. 1-800-HEY-DUDE, your full-service store with personalized attention, school band instrument rentals and sales, music instruction on all instruments for all styles and age groups, for guitars, drums, amplifiers, PA systems, and accessories. It's Village Music Shop, 1495 Montauk Highway in Mastic. Call 1-800-HEY-DUDE or go to villagemusicshop.com.
Hi, this is Mike Jarecki from My Race News, and you're watching the Inravio TV network.
Welcome back. Hey, for those who saw that last little lead into our show from Michael Jarecki from MyRaceNews.com, he will be filling in for me, guest host, on, I believe, Monday the 28th. It'll be the first Monday after my, we'll call it reconstruction surgery on the foot that I mangled back in '96. And so Mike will be filling in. Mike proudly took over MyRaceNews.com with the passing of WJ, Walter Johnson, and his wealth of racing knowledge is endless. So make sure everybody tunes in that night and supports my good buddy Mike Jarecki. But anyway, the Camping World Truck Series were at Michigan this past weekend, and as I said earlier, Darrell Bubba Wallace was the winner there. An exciting win. 3-wide pass for the lead, and he just took off. Christopher Bell was second. Kyle Busch was third. Ryan Truex fourth. Austin Cindric was fifth. Matt Crafton was sixth. Noah Gragson was seventh. Grant Enfinger was eighth. Chase Briscoe was ninth. And rounding out the top 10 was Justin Haley. Matt Crafton started on the pole for this event, and as I said earlier, he finished sixth. The next event, as I said earlier, it will be Bristol. It will be Wednesday night, preceding the NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour event. The Xfinity Series, they were at the Mid-Ohio Sports Car Club. Sam Hornish Jr. started on the pole and finished on the pole, followed by Daniel Hemrick was second. Mac Tift was third. J.D. Davidson was fourth. Andy Lally out of Northport, Long Island was fifth. Elliott Sadler sixth. Brendan Gaughan seventh. Brennan Poole eighth. Justin Marks ninth. And Dakota Armstrong rounding out the top 10. It wasn't too exciting a race, at least from my point. And VMC Marketing, a long time since I've seen him in the chat room. Want to welcome him back. Hello, how you doing? Good to see you. Was a part of our show for a while. Very big supporter of racing here on Long Island and other places as well. Anyway, we got the Monster Energy NASCAR Cup was also at Michigan. Kyle Larson, this kid is running away with it. Third consecutive win at the Michigan Speedway, followed by Martin Truex Jr., Eric Jones third, Ryan Newman fourth, Trevor Bayne was fifth, Chris Buescher sixth, Austin Dillon seventh, Chase Elliott eighth, Jamie McMurray ninth, and Kyle Busch rounding out the top 10. Brad Keselowski had the pole. He finished 17th on the lead lap. And the standings with the top 13 in points in the Cup Series locked into the playoffs. Martin Truex is first in points right now with 4 wins. Kyle Larson, second in points with 3. Jimmy Johnson's third in points with 3 wins. Brad Keselowski, fourth in points with 2 wins. Kyle Busch, fifth in points with a win. Ricky Stenhouse Jr., sixth in points with 2 wins. Kevin Harvick, seventh. Ryan Blaney, eighth. Denny Hamlin, 9th, Kurt Busch, 10th, all with 1 win apiece. 11th, Ryan Newman, he's got a win. Casey Kane with a win. 13th, Austin Dillon with a win. And now it gets tricky. Chase Elliott, 14th in points. He has a 62-point lead over the cutoff spot. Jamie McMurray, a 52-point lead coming out of the cutoff point. And Matt Kenseth with a 61-point lead, 31 points ahead of the last cutoff spot. Now, Clint Boyer's close. He's only down 31 points to get into the playoffs. Now, Joey Logano is down 98 points. He's 18th in points, and Logano's lost some points on penalties this season, and even, I believe, lost that win. It was just one of those things that they took the points away. Eric Jones is 19th in points, down 130, and Daniel Suarez is down 139 points. So mathematically, when you look at it, Joey Logano would have to win a bunch of races, or at least win a race to get into this that locks you into the playoffs. But he's down 98 points, so when you're only getting 48 points for a win, that's a big nut to cut. I think anybody in 3 digits and back can kiss the playoffs goodbye. But then again, you never know what could happen in racing. And speaking of racing, Danica Patrick. Well, Danica's doing a nice thing. She's going to honor NASCAR legend Robert Yates, who's 73 years old and unfortunately battling cancer. Robert Yates is not doing well. It's a struggle day to day. I've seen pictures of Robert Yates, and he's just a mere shadow of himself. So prayers go out to Robert Yates and his family. But he's really excited because Danica Patrick has this paint scheme that's honoring Yates and his Hall of Fame driver, Dale Jarrett. Yates and Stewart-Haas Racing have a bond as Yates supplies motors for Stewart-Haas's Fords, and also is very instrumental in getting Stewart-Haas Racing to switch to Ford in 2017. I saw pictures of the car, none unfortunately I could use, but I saw pictures of the car, and it looks just like the Quality Care Ford that Dale Jarrett drove when he was with Robert Yates. Dale Jarrett, Hall of Famer, as is Robert Yates, the NASCAR Hall of Fame. It's going to be good to see that car out there, and hopefully Danica could run it up front and keep it all good. I would really love to see that. Robert Yates. In fact, Robert Yates was big help in getting UPS involved with NASCAR racing years ago. The Ford Motor Plant in Louisville, Kentucky, shares space at the UPS and stores stuff on believe it or not, UPS property. And up at their air hub in Louisville. And UPS was kind of at the point now looking to get in, and it didn't work out with the first driver. There was a little problem. And then Robert Yates Ford and UPS people had a little chat. And before you knew it, UPS was involved. And as they say, the rest was history. But even back then, and you're talking the mid-90s, even back then, you know, it was a $16 million deal for primary sponsorship. $16 million. A primary sponsor now is upwards of around $20 million, and you don't see a lot of those. Take a close look at driver uniforms. When you look at the driver uniforms today, they're emblazoned with all kinds of sponsors. Yeah, they might, you know, one event, this is the primary guy, and they get that fire street out for that guy, or for that company, I should say. And because it costs so much money. And when you think about the cost of doing this, think about, you know, with FedEx, with Joe Gibbs Racing, you know, how many packages does FedEx have to get in new business to cover that? I'm sure they're getting a similar deal that UP has had on the marketing with the souvenirs and the shirts and the jackets. But think about that. How many, like Danica Patrick when she had Nace's Bakery. Here's an item that sold for like $2 or $3. How many of those $2 or $3 bars would they have to sell in order to make their money? And as VMC Marketing is saying, a lot. They'd have to sell a lot. They didn't get what they paid for. They pulled out, and they're still battling this out from what I understand in the courts. So, you know, there needs to be a return on that sponsorship, and a lot of people don't understand that. And I know a couple of guys that are in this sponsorship business, and so am I to a degree. And sometimes it's a tough nut. You know, one of the things I don't do, I learned that lesson back in 1990, I never bring the driver with me to proposal meetings, because the driver sits there. Well, you know, if you sponsor my car, I can get tires, and I think I could get beer for my guys, and you know, we could run better and get fuel. And not once do they say, you know, Mr. Sponsor or Mrs. Sponsor, this is what you're going to get. And you have to show that as a sponsor. You have to show that sponsor, hey, you're going to give me, let's take a local racetrack, you know, a big deal, getting 5,000, 7,500. You need to show them, you know, okay, not only are you going to break even, but you're going to make money. That's what keeps them coming back. And I noticed somebody mentioned Buckshot Jones in the chat room. I'm going to tell you a little story about Buckshot Jones. And I know I've probably said it in the past, but you guys brought it up. Buckshot Jones was the UPS's first choice when UPS came on board. And Buckshot Jones, they write the contract, UPS does their thing, they send it to Buckshot Jones and his people. They got to read it, sign it, and get it back to UPS ASAP. So what do? Buckshot Jones reads it. He's all excited. He's got a big sponsor. He signs it. His team owner signs it. They put it in a FedEx envelope onto UPS and went. True story. UPS executives get this FedEx letter. They open it up, see what it is, and they go to like page 92, paragraph Z. Actions detrimental to UPS will null and void this contract. An overnight letter was sent to Buckshot. You violated that clause already. And the phone calls back and forth. What did I do? You used our competitor. Why would you not use UPS? We have overnight shipping as well. And that's how it ended up at Robert Yates with Dale Jarrett. True story. Not that FedEx is better than UPS or UPS is better than, excuse me, FedEx. They do the same thing. But I'm thinking if I'm going to be sponsored by a clothing outfit, Levi jeans, I'm not going to walk in with, you know, Lee jeans. I'm going to use their product. That's how serious this business of advertising race cars is. Don't embarrass your sponsor. And that's a big thing. That is a big thing. And whether you're at the cup level or you're at your local weekly racetrack, you know, especially at your local track, you know, your sponsor comes out with some of his friends, you know, from the neighborhood, whatever, people from work, and he goes, yeah, I sponsored car number 13. Oh, yeah, oh, that's great. And the guy comes out, and the car looks good. Okay, great. And the races are over, and he goes down to the pit area to meet him, and they're fighting, they're drinking, they're drunk. Boo. That guy's not coming back. Yeah, you got his money for the year, whatever. Okay, whatever. But he's not coming back. Or the guys who get the big sponsor, and they spend it all on a brand new car, brand new motor, boom, 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 new hauler, and they total the car the first night out, and they can't race the rest of the year. But they took that sponsor's money. Man, they should have kept that a little bit aside for those situations. I've heard of sponsors suing drivers, get their money back, breach of promise. This is a business, ladies and gentlemen. This is a business. And you have to take care of your sponsors, you know. And I'll be the first one to admit, I wasn't a good driver at all in my day. I went out there, had a good time most nights. Most nights I finished mid-pack if I was lucky. A couple of times I finished in the top 5, very rare occasions. But I had the best sponsors in the world that kept coming back. Why did they keep coming back? Because we dressed right. I didn't have fancy uniforms. Most of the guys just had T-shirts, and then I ended up with a crew chief, and he didn't wear T-shirts, so we got golf shirts, and there was no beer in my trailer, and we weren't fighting after the races. And for those who know me, sometimes that could have been hard. That was hard. That was hard. I just had to sit there. And if somebody came screaming at us, we just had to sit there and bite our tongues. But that sponsor kept coming back. And to this day, we still work a marketing system with a sponsor we've had since 1995. And here it is, 2017, 22 years, and I keep coming back because we do the right thing. And a lot of people need to learn that, and that's just how it is. But anyway, we're going to take a break, and when we come back, we'll start to wrap up a little story about a drag race situation, and then we'll wrap it up. We'll be back.
Hey guys, this is Jibs from Ocean's 8, Alaska, and you're watching Inravio TV Network.
Hey, I'm Raul Panther.
And I'm Commander B. Hawkins.
And I'm Rich Weller. We're some of the proto men. If we see you without this bracelet, you get punched in the But if you have this bracelet from Inravio.com, you can win $100.
Put one of these on, or else.
What's up, guys? This is Assuming We Survive, and you're watching Inravio TV Network.
Hey, welcome back. Now, I love when I get on my little sponsor trip soapbox, and then when I have somebody who's in the business backing me up here. But I agree and disagree with the chat room comment that to attract someone like that, they have to love the sport. Yes and no. And I always sought out non-traditional sponsors. And I had a chiropractor and a physical therapy place all in one. And the guy was a tough sell on how to do this. And he was like, what am I going to gain from that? Well, anytime you've gone to a doctor, physical therapy, there was always that line, how did you hear of us? I said, just keep track of how many people say racetrack, Joe's race car, Long Island here, and keep track of that. You'll see. So I kid you not, they went on my race car for the first year. I didn't take a dime. And my arrangement with him was 2% of his return on every patient that used the services of his place. Season ends, we go out to dinner, and we sit there, and he reaches into his pocket and he hands me a check for $6,000. And then we had a race that was on ESPN2 televised, and I pulled out of the race, and across the back panel of my car was their company, and I was sitting at the turn 3 gate waiting for them to open, and the camera's on me, and they're like, and it looks like, the $37 and it's going to make it back. They're trying to get in the pits. And for 30 seconds, he was on ESPN2. You would have thought that he bought the commercial for $10,000. He was so excited. So I got a little bonus check for that. And then they've been sponsoring my cars ever since. Ever since. And because there's a return. But anyway, we're going to dedicate a show at season's end to sponsor talking, sponsor chasing, how to get them and how to keep them. Because it's real tough to get them and real hard, real easy to lose them. Okay, so it's one of those things. But like BMC says, it's always about the sponsor. And that's what you got to do. You got to take this, carry a sponsor, and you never know who you're talking to. You never know who you're talking to. And you could be talking to a guy who looks like nothing, and I call that guy the man of that company, and it's an acronym. The man is the person with the money, the answers, and the need. That's the man. Anyway, hey, something went on here at what was it? Great Lake Speedway or Dragway, the Great Lake Dragway. Sunday, 3 victims were shot and killed there. Authorities have confirmed that an African-American suspect walked up to 3 other African-Americans at a food vending line and shot them point blank. And it is unknown what precipitated the attack. The attacker fled out of the facility into his car and on his way. Police are still looking. So, and you never know. You never know. People are crazy. And it is what it is. But, you know, I got a minute or so left. But as Tracy from Evansville Speedway is saying, that's why drivers need to be careful with social media. People look at that now. People look at social media over and over and over again, and they read it, and they look, well, listen, before we get involved with this guy, maybe we should stalk his social media pages. And, you know, and the guy says, we played beer pong. I was so drunk, I don't even remember if I won. That guy doesn't want to sponsor you, you know, or you're out partying all the time. How about you put something positive about your racetrack? Attract people to the track. Put something that you guys are working on your cars, you know, trying to make them better. Don't complain about the sport. Don't complain about the officials. And I've always said, if you have a beef with an official, go to that person and go like a professional. Talk to them like you want to be talked to. And I know I had an incident at my local racetrack the first night of the season, or the first day. It was a Sunday show. And from what they were told, I did all these things, and I was escorted to the gate. I was told not to come back for a month, a big fine. And prior to my notification that day, I spoke to one of the owners. We had a nice conversation. I spoke to the general manager via phone. I spoke to one of the owners again. I did a little write-up, and it was all done. I didn't go up there screaming, yelling, you threw me out, I want my money back. They did what they had to do at the time. I didn't go on social media while this was all going on, blasting my racetrack, my local racetrack. It was in those shoes. I know what it's like. I didn't like, as an official, being yelled at. I sucked it up. But who was I going to listen to, the calm guy or the lunatic? I'm going to listen to the calm guy who's talking to me with respect. I understand being angry. And sometimes I would say to a driver, all right, not right now, can you give me 15 minutes? I didn't need 15 minutes. The driver needed 15 minutes to calm down. Social media is a killer. People have been arrested for threats they've made on social media. People have been fined, imprisoned, and sued for things they've said on social media. Be careful what you say on social media, folks. I know the people that watch our show, with the exception of maybe 1 or 2, are careful what they say in not only social media, but our chat room as well. But it's just one of those things. So always positive. Try to be positive. You got a beef with your racetrack, go to them, call them. Stop by, see them. They'll listen to you. They might not change what they did or do, but talk to them like a gentleman, like a professional, okay? You have to do the right thing with that, you know? And I'll tell you what, any racetrack I go to, whether it's a bad night or a good night, I say to that promoter, owner, head guy, nice show tonight, whether it was or it wasn't. But anyway, we're gonna wrap it up. So this weekend's Bristol. Actually, Bristol starts Wednesday. So wherever your travels or endeavors will bring you this week, I want everybody to be safe, be careful, give somebody a hug, tell them you love them, and thanks for watching. We'll be back next week. Good night, everybody.